Welcome back to the Last Best Beer Show. We're here with Elizabeth Hunter from the Dram Shop, which is a institution downtown Missoula, and you guys are doing a sour week this week. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing for Sour Week and what's available.
Yeah, so luckily for us, we get to offer a different style of beer once a month. So this month happens to be sour beers, which is really exciting since it's quite hot out and sour beers are also very popular at the moment.
Right.
So we have a variety of styles within the sour subject. And so it's pretty exciting for people, especially, beginning sour tasters to kind of find out what is happening in the world of.
And do you see that a lot of people, you're starting to get a lot of sour drinkers now that people like 2 years ago would have never touched the darn things, and now they're really coming into them.
Absolutely, and it's really fun because it's not just the young kids drinking sour, which is pretty cool. I see so many people from so many age groups, and you wouldn't think that they would be interested in it, and that's what's so cool.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're lucky here at the Dram Shop to be able to offer a taste to people so that they can give it a shot rather than have to fork out the money and buy it and maybe not like it. But.
Right. Well, and sours, it's a much more craft intensive than a pale ale. Let's say you can knock out an amber in 4 to 6 weeks. A sour is going to take you a long time. Now, some of our breweries locally, you actually have one from Draftworks. They're doing kettle souring.
Yes.
Which is a whole process of souring inside the kettle, then going out to fermentation. You arranged this tasting for us, so. What are we going to start with here?
Okay, so the first that we will be tasting today is the New Belgium Fruit Fly Passion Fruit Citra Sour. So at the end they added passion fruit and dry citra hops.
Now, do you know what the sour is in this? Whether it's a lacto or is it a...
I am not 100% sure, so I won't say, but I think it is lacto.
Right. And for people that are wondering what we were talking about sour, it's not necessarily sour in the taste, although a lot of these beers tend to be sour in the taste. Sour refers to there being a bug other than your typical brewer's yeast. So you might have a Brettanomyces, you might have a Lactobacillus, an Acidophilus, something other than a brewer's yeast.
And one thing that's really cool about that I always like to tell people is that a lot of those yeasts can come from your yogurt. And a lot of the beers are actually made with yogurt. Greek yogurt, anything that has a lot of high probiotics in it is going to be exactly what you need. And it's cheaper than buying yeast strains, which is pretty cool.
It's cheaper than buying yeast strains. It's a cheat.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll try that. As I dribble. Oh, wow. It's definitely passion fruity.
It's beautiful. They're doing a really great job with all of their sours at New Belgium. For being such a big company, I think it's pretty cool that they knock out what they do.
Yeah, and this one, with the citra and the passion fruit, you're going to have tropical fruit on top of tropical fruit. So it's...
Yeah, it's really nice. I think, let's see, there's...
And we're going to order from relatively color, darkness and color, and also, I'm assuming, complexity as we go through it.
Body, and then we'll also move into the more sour styles. So.
All right, so number 2 here.
Yeah, number 2 is the Bavik Petrus Aged Pale.
Okay.
We've offered this quite a bit at the Dram Shop.
This is one of my faves.
Yeah, people definitely love it. It's a classic.
And that'll make you pucker up, Buttercup. That is.
It's so quaffable.
It has a almost like a. I get the same mouthfeel as kombucha almost. It's very, it's that finely carbonated. It has this little twang to it. It's very similar to kombucha for me.
Definitely, and this is a really classic style, like old school, classic, traditional style. And so it's really nice for people to taste something like the New Belgium and then move on to this and go, oh, wow. So in comparison, this is what's happening now, and this is what's been happening for the longest time with traditional methods. And it's pretty cool.
Oh, number 3 here?
Yeah, so the next one that we'll be doing is the Laughing Dog Peach Sour. This is pretty awesome, out of Idaho, which is cool. We've had this on quite a bit at the shop, and people love it. So.
Well, and if anyone ever gets a chance, they're going through Sandpoint, go to that brewery. There's a reason why they call it a laughing dog. I've never seen more dogs in a tap room. At any one time, there's probably at least 8 dogs in there.
It's awesome.
Oh,
Yeah, so of course this has the peach addition to it, and it's nice because it gives it more of a fruit-forward character and kind of balances out the
see,
sourness.
so far out of the 3, this is the one I would give to someone who is new to sours, because this is, to me, it's much more peach forward. You know, it's almost like, it's like a peach cider.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
And that's nice.
And this one is done in the soured in the mash tun.
Yep. Good old kettle souring. which is a great process. And it's so funny that came out at CBA. They had a little sub panel 2 years ago, and then everyone just. I remember the guys from Dram Shop came back, and they're like, "Wow, it was like a new toy. They couldn't wait to try it."
Yeah, it's pretty cool because maybe a year ago or so, there was a really great article about the subject, kettle souring, and Draftworks was featured, which I think is pretty amazing on NPR, the Draftworks. So if you get a chance, listen to it because it's a great article.
And we'll make sure it's on the show notes. We'll put a link to that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's funny, but they came back, really hard on it. They were so, I think it was literally like that week they came back and they're like, we're doing this.
Yeah.
They're buying yogurt.
It's fun. Yeah, that's the thing that I love about it is it's fun. These barrel-aged beers and, the very subject is just so much more exploratory, and I find that to be really interesting and fun.
Well, and it just opens it up that now the creativity is beyond, doing things within styles, which what I like is American beer culture. It's starting to have the breakdown of the style. We were so very British about, things were in their little silos, and pale ale was a pale ale, damn it. Everything was done that way. And now, those lines are all getting blurred, especially since people are starting to do pale ale sours.
Yeah, it's
that expansion of what we're allowed to drink.
I think the big thing for me is that, like, being a nerd about all this sort of stuff is that I want the explanation of it. Like, I don't want to just drink something and be like, oh, it's a sour beer. Like, well, what style were you thinking about? Or what did, tell me the
peppery thing is because Guinness has their own lactobacillus, and they have their own bug that they sour their stouts with.
Right.
And so people are like, oh, now they can kind of get it. Like, no, it's another flavor. The other thing that I'm waiting for American brewers to do is open air fermentation. So breweries like Cold Peculiar, some of the saison breweries, the brasseries, is that finally someone said we have a house strain or whatever the bugs are in our house, that's what we use. I'm waiting for that.
Absolutely. I come from the wine world. That's like my ultimate passion. And working in the industry, being able to stick my hand in a ferment and the smells and all of the changes, being able to actually witness that and see that happen was so cool to me. Then when I worked in the beer industry, hands-on, it was really funny because I'm like, what's going on in that tank? I don't know. And I just think it's so cool to use old school, old world, whatever you want to call it, techniques to find out, what kind of strains are happening in this, winery or this cellar that will help give valuable input to this taste component. And sometimes not so much.
Yeah.
But that's what's so exciting about it.
I've had some home experiments with open cast brewing and question the results, but then I had the pleasure of visiting the old Peculiar brewery.
Cool. I bet it's
And it's these long, shallow troughs. It's like maybe 8 inches to 9 inches deep wort, and it's open air, and it's the bug that's in that thing. And these things run 200 yards.
Yeah, it's really cool that they do it so thin. I was thinking about that earlier. It must be so that as much oxygen can get in as possible. So there's a
Yeah, I think they're trying to keep that surface to volume ratio. Yeah.
That's so cool. I love it. Yeah, it'll happen. It'll happen.
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
And so number 5.
So next we're working with the draft we're exploring the call key lime sour. So cool for us to be able to have a local sour on our draft for our sour week. And I think these guys are doing an exceptional job with their whole sour scene.
Yeah.
This is they've done a few. I know they've done a huckleberry sour.
Which was
Say there was a raspberry.
the raspberry, the one we call, which is this key lime, and they did a huckleberry and a raspberry. And there was one other in there that
But it's pretty cool. I was outside of the good food store a couple weeks ago, and I saw one of my friends, Matt, who's the brewer there. He had a big box of limes, and he was like, "Yeah, go in and make the key lime sour." And I was like, "Whoa, you're not joking! You really do."
that's real lime.
Yeah, and that is so huge because I think in this production world where we're seeing, so much happen, and what's more expensive and what's,
Right.
what's cost effective and speed and all that, it's just really cool to see them actually being like, yeah, we're using real fruit because we don't,
How cheap is key lime extract? You can buy a gallon of that and use 8 ounces for a 15-barrel brew. It'd be cost effective.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. It takes away from that idea that it's a tangible process.
yeah, it's really cool.
And I like the fact that they're doing that. They're actually dumping in the yogurt. They're actually using real lime.
And it's really awesome because it seems like they're just selling a ton of it to all of their clientele, which, like I said before, of all ages and groups. It's just cool to see not just the beer nerds drinking this.
Now, this is the latest iteration, I assume.
Yes.
And so this is their 3rd or 4th batch. I think it's the third batch. This is it's rounded. I'm not going to say it's smooth, but it's rounder than previous.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is really super. They're starting to nail it.
Yeah.
And that's what a recipe should be. It should take you, 3 or 4 iterations before you get it nailed.
Yeah, exactly. And it's cool because all of the different styles that they have done thus far have been so different. It's not like they're using, it doesn't seem like they're using the same recipe and adding a different fruit,
And there's a nice dryness to that.
Yeah, it's fun. This is very quaffable. You can definitely sit with this for a while.
and